don't know if he's proud to call me a friend, but I'm proud. Works that way. He's going to talk on the Neverending Story and keeping current with WordPress. So without any further mucking around, let's get Michael Visser into Spotlight. And Michael, would you like to share your screen? I suppose I'm going to have to stop sharing. Here we go.
Yeah, you got to hand over control.
Hand over control. I've actually made you a co-host, so I don't know how scary that is. We'll soon find out. You probably didn't know you had the power.
Great, thank you very much. All right, guys, let's share the screen. Share. How's that looking?
Looking good.
Tops, great. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of you guys in the corner. Probably see cells.
You might just want to go into, there we go. Full screen.
That.
Beautiful. Loving it.
Cool. Okay. Guys, my name is Michael Visser. I'm a WordPress developer. I build WordPress sites. I've blogged. I've built e-commerce sites. I've built video collection sites. Whatever you can do with WordPress, I've probably had a good shot at it and had some fun. And today we're going to talk about the never-ending story, and that is keeping WordPress going. It's going to go through various levels from, you know, the basic stuff where we talk about plugin updates and stuff like that, through to the very other end, which is keeping the infrastructure behind up to date, and how you come up with a strategy for making this a regular, recurring thing. Or you just go hands off and just hit automatic and, you know, walk away and hope it's all well. There's different ways you can approach it, and we're going to have a look at this. That's the point of this meetup. Cool. Where we are today. If you're using the latest version of WordPress right now, and you can check that, I'm hoping you can see these tabs. If you check this by logging into your site, so let's go to a site. You still following? Can you see this new window?
Yep.
Great, great. Okay. Good. If you're at your WordPress site, you've gone /wp-admin, or you've used the My Account page to log into your page. In the bottom right corner, you can always see what version you've got. Now, the perks of these newer versions of WordPress is there's now a screen dedicated to all this information. You used to have to dig for it. Now it's just there. And that's the site health status. So this will tell you all about what your WordPress site is doing. You can find it here as a dashboard widget. You can also find it from the Tools Site Health page. And the info page here tells you all the details about your site. So 5.4 is the most recent release, which is great. That's got all the features, all the security patches that have been brought into this ecosystem. So if you've updated, you've got it. You're up to date. Fantastic. What you need to keep in mind is the last release was 5.3.2, I think. Dion, correct me if I'm wrong. Close enough. It was 9 days ago. So the last update that was pushed out to the community was 9 days ago. And prior to that, the release was 55 days ago. So you're starting to get a very, very basic time system going on of when these releases are scheduled and pushed out to the community. And when the community has automatic updates turned on, you get it right away. Otherwise, you need to queue it up and do it manually. I do a quick Google search for WordPress releases. There's a page dedicated to telling you when these releases happen. So 5.4 is what we're using right now. It was released just over a week ago. Prior to that, 5.3.2, which was a minor update, was pushed back in February. 5.3.1 was pushed 2 months before that. So a bit of time's taken between those two releases. And then before that, November. So monthly, bi-monthly, as it happens. So long periods of time can happen. If you go through the history, you can also see that sometimes there's quick updates. So if you've got these automatic updates turned on for WordPress core, you get those instant security updates. You get those breaking changes that might sneak in. Everyone does their absolute best not for it to happen, but some users may be affected. And that's the beauty of these automatic updates. You get the benefits without doing anything. Are we following?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Alternative, WooCommerce. If you're running an e-commerce shop, the last urgent release was also 21 days ago, and the last branch release before that was a week ago. So they pushed a big change with a lot of new functionality. Something wasn't working, and enough people pushed for a release that fixes got included, and a week later, 9 days later, 8 days, the next update got pushed out. And since then, they've gone back into that development mode for it. WooCommerce, you can turn automatic updates on, and it will push automatic updates for you, except if it's a big whopper. And if it's a big one, it will apply the changes for you if you opt in, but it won't make the database structure changes. It'll ask you when you log in next time, hey, update's ready. Are you okay if we do these database changes? And the reason it asks is there can be substantial changes. In e-commerce, you don't want to really mess around. That's your chance to do your backup snapshot. That's your chance to back up your site if you're using cPanel or whatever provider you've got. And finally, we'll just take the primary theme that comes with WordPress this year is 2020. The last release was 9 days ago. Great. And that was in line with WordPress 5.4 coming out. Prior to that, it's been 118 days since 1.1 was released. It's a significant amount of time between there. So 1.1 to 1.2 has brought a lot of functionality, a lot of changes to match up with 5.4, but it's probably going to be a long time before the next update comes out. So you won't be checking every day, every week, every month for something to come out for that theme. I use 2020, quite happy with it. Okay. Let's jump back to that site health page. What do you need to do to keep current? You've got your active theme. So in this case, I'm using 2015. 2015 isn't, it's an older theme. It came out with WordPress 2015, correct me wrong. But it still gets updates, it's still maintained. It's just that was the theme for that year. So it doesn't mean that it's outdated, it just means that it's a theme from a couple of years ago. I use it because I like it, and updates are still pushed for it. In this case, I'm using a child theme, and child themes are great in that you can customize the base theme that comes provided to you. You can change the header, the footer, how blogs look, how pages look, the pagination, the size of images that displays featured images. You can do all that through child themes. The catch with child themes is once you start customizing it, you're pulled away from that automatic update ecosystem, because your child theme files will always take precedence. They'll always be used first before the base parent theme. Because of this, I'm probably going to get caught out pretty soon if I don't keep merging in changes or revert back to just using the parent theme. And if I don't need to make these custom changes, push them back. And that's a real issue I'm going to have to deal with this site on visser.io. So example customizations I've made on this site would be things like probably the header, what you're seeing there, 1, 2, 3. I've probably hacked that in using a change to the index page or to the archive page. I could change that with PHP to use a shortcode or a filter or an action probably to load that in rather than making those changes to child theme pages. It removes that issue of, hey, a couple of years have passed, things are now falling off. Why? Oh, it's because I made that hacky change back then. And I'm happy to show and drop code to explain how to do that. Cool. What keeps WordPress going? So you've got above the hood and under the hood. Above the hood are the things WordPress plugins, WordPress themes, translations, free plugins. So anything that's on the WordPress plugins repository, which is pretty big. WordPress.org/plugins. Anything you can find there. That's officially hosted by, oh, let's not look at that one. Anything that's hosted on WordPress.org is free. Go use it, it's there. Updates are managed there on the WordPress server. So it's all managed and sanctioned and controlled. It's a great ecosystem to work on. So WordPress has 3 different releases. You've got the branch, which is these big branches. We've just started the 5.4 branch. This is going to continue for the next couple of months until the 5.5 branches. If you're a developer, you can have a look at the development logs. You can look at the plans for 5.5 already. There's members here in this chat now who could tell you all about it, I'm sure. Otherwise, jump onto the WordPress Slack community, different to WP Slack, WP Australia's Slack. And you can jump in there and guide the development of this 5.5 branch, which will be a significant step away from 5.4. Different features, different fixes, different focuses. Between those releases, those branches, you've got minor releases and urgent releases, which we talked about before, so I'm not going to drill further into it. Back looking at the way that your site runs. You've got themes and you've got plugins. Loading. Okay. This is run-of-the-mill site, nothing special. You've got a bunch of themes. They've all got to be updated. It's bad practice to have a lot of themes like this sitting around, especially if you don't trust them. But these are from pretty well-trusted sources. They're all from WordPress.org. If it was a non-WordPress repo theme, I'd be a lot more concerned, because then you can open yourself up to PHP exploits and things like that, where you can attack those files without them being active or completely deactivated. So yeah, I'm going to have to apply updates here. I'm going to have to check and make sure that, hey, is this new theme update available? Should I apply it or should I wait? How long should I wait? The decision on when you push the update button really, for me, is I kind of have to do it. I don't like hitting that update button unless I'm sure that it's going to work and it's not going to impact the site visitors coming to me. But everyone's different. Some people are not OCD, but they like a clean dashboard and they don't want to see these prompts and notifications. In which case you can just update away, especially if it's not a huge site, it's not business critical. You can be safe and pretty confident, and once you've done those updates, that it's okay for the next while. So to update for new users to WordPress, to do theme updates, plugin updates, any updates, open up the dashboard, update screen up there in the top corner. Depending on how many themes and plugins you've got and how slow the site is, like in my case, you'll then get a screen showing you how to do updates. Cool thing that I guess we can re-go over is that if you've ever had security issues or you're concerned that your WordPress files might have been compromised, WordPress is just acting weird. You can always reinstall it just by hitting the reinstall button. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't affect anything outside of WordPress core. Just hit reinstall now and it cleans the files for you. Brand new template. Your site stays the same, everything stays the same, but the core WordPress files will be reloaded for you. Cool. Okay, that's theme updates, that's plugin updates. What have we got? So there's different sources you can have themes these days. That's the ecosystem today. You've got your free themes that are available from WordPress.org. There are free themes that you can get outside of WordPress.org. There's a lot of theme publishers that you can go to their website, download a zip or sign up, and they give you access to download a zip file through their My Account section. You can load all those in. To do those installs, open up the Appearance theme screen. For WordPress.org themes, you can just do a search in, how do you do it here? Add new. Everything's under add new. So by going to the Add New page, you're by default seeing everything that's on WordPress.org themes section. So from here you can search, install, pick and choose, go through the themes. If you're loading themes from an external source, so outside of WordPress.org, you'll need to hit the upload theme button and drop the zip file in there. There are theme services outside of WordPress.org that will install it for you, but they will ask for WP admin access or FTP SFTP access. Either of those are like handing over the keys to the candy shop. So be very careful, make sure you trust those sources if you do give them access. You are opening yourself up to a world of harm. And most of these guys are great and good and trusted, but you need to really be sure when you hand those keys over, because you are giving them access to everything. And I hate to see that being abused just by one bad actor. And that includes just customer support. Just be very careful when you're handing over access. Make sure you trust them, you identify them, and yeah, know who the actor is when you give them logins. So WordPress theme and plugin updates will always be shown within the update screen. That's because WordPress.org is able to push those update notifications directly to you. You will always see them. Where it comes from non-WordPress.org hosted plugins and themes, you may need to install an update plugin to enable those updates to appear automatically, or you'll need to install put a license key in or some way of identifying you within their ecosystem, so separate to WordPress.org. If you don't include a license key that they require, then you won't get those update notifications. You won't get those updates unless you manually update. So if you are using non-WordPress.org ecosystems, just be aware that yeah, you're missing out on those security updates if they're pushed, and to be very conscious of the update status when new updates are released, that you should go about finding them, downloading them, applying them. Yeah. Just going to open up chat quickly. Where are we at? Automatic updates with database update prompts like WooCommerce. There's a few plugins that come to mind that prompt you for database updates. Another one I'm using is, what's one that's notorious and tells me all the time? Not WP Rocket. Gravity Forms? Does Gravity Forms prompt you for database updates? There's one that I use. Ultimate Member, all the time. It does the update for you, but it prompts you to do that database update in person with you to be sure. Okay, that's above the hood. So that's above WordPress. That's what we work with every day. Below the hood, there's different levels of how far under the hood you get. Just like driving a car, you're either using the steering wheel, or you can go behind that. You can lift the front of the car and start playing with parts of the car. To me, that's where you go from having a managed host who does all these software updates for you below WordPress. So we're talking PHP, we're talking your database, we're talking caching, we're talking CDNs, like all the stuff that's not above water. And that's the beauty of having some of these managed host providers, because they do this all for you. Or step down, you've lifted up the hood of the car and you're starting to replace the filter and things like that. You're starting to do basic maintenance. That's cPanel, that's Plesk, where you are responsible for tuning the car and making sure that the car continues operating. They'll give it to you. It's in a nice, great condition, but you need to manage it going forward. And that's Plesk, that's cPanel. So when PHP updates come out, you need to apply them. If you are configuring the caching, you can swap between caching tools. That's up to you. That's not done by a managed host. So Ricky can tell you all about managed host being from WP Engine. You don't control a lot of that. You have control over some options. You can do PHP, but they will do it for you, and they'll recommend it for you with the option that if you want to do it, you can, take the wheel and drive. And then you've got the step below that, and that's basically building your own car from scratch, and that's cloud instances. A lot of that's easier now. It's easy to build your own DIY car in that you can use templates. You can use Lightsail to build a car for you with the best recipes that they've got, with the best software combinations that they've got. But that introduces even more complexity. And once you've got it and you're driving it, you've then got to somehow continue it going down the road. And that's a lot more involved. You're not just looking at PHP, you're not just looking at database and caching and CDN, you're looking at all the software that's running. Everything is now under your control, and also everything is now under your responsibility. So managing SSLs, just the software that does SSL is something that you now need to worry about. Database pooling, the amount of memory that you allocate to databases, everything is now your responsibility, which I enjoy getting into, but it's frustrating in that once you've got it and it's yours, it's customized, it's then your mess, and it's very easy to let it crash itself, which I'm going to show you later. So yeah, that's the 3 complexities. Managed hosts, easy as pie. You just build the site, you focus on WordPress, happy days. cPanel Plesk, you get involved in that hosting process. You're installing modules, you're doing things hands-on rather than asking support to do it for you. And then you're in the deep end. Cool. Yeah, so some of that stuff that you've got to deal with further down in the deep is MySQL storage. What combination do you use? If you're more e-commerce based, I think InnoDB stops being preferable and my ISM takes over. Anyone in chat, let us know. I think by default, InnoDB is what most people ship with. WordPress software, Apache is still king. NGIX is huge. And then Lightspeed Enterprise, IIS is still there. And you've got different solutions that follow on from there. And then really under the hood, and this is when you're dealing with performance and getting the most out of your site, is making sure that you're allocating the right memory. You're allowing a certain amount the right amount of connections for the amount of memory that you've got. Things like database pooling, how big the cache is allowed to grow before it resets itself, how your cache works, whether you use OP cache, what OP code method you use. That's all very technical stuff, but that's stuff that you can control and have to control further down the line or get someone to do for you. And that's part of that three-level stack. Case study, here we are. If you have a WordPress site, can you open up WordPress, WP admin, the WordPress administration, open up that site health screen and let us know what version of PHP you've got. I'm curious, just honestly curious. We've got a minute, open it up. I'm going to switch back to meeting controls. Stop sharing for a second. Drop it in chat if you can. So what version of PHP do you have? Not WordPress. I'm hoping most of you are on the latest version of WordPress. I'll quickly show you how to get there again. How do I share screen again? So just giving you again, so open up the WordPress administration. From there, go to Tools, open up Site Health. And you can tell I need to do a bit of work on this site. It's getting slow. So I can see right there, I don't even have to go to the info screen because it's already telling me this is a critical issue. Your version of PHP is 7.0.6. That's not good. The minimum recommended version of PHP is 7.3. So I'm already in bad land. How about you guys? Can you see that screen? Are you also getting critical issues? We've got 5.6. Stephanie, that's old.
I know.
If you're on microphone, are you able to tell us if you're on cPanel or Plesk or managed host?
I have no idea.
Okay. No.
I have my friend set up the site to begin with, and I just look after content, really.
Okay. Okay. It's just with 5.6, you'll notice that some newer WordPress plugins and themes, you won't be able to install. It'll actually get blocked from installing because that minimum version is so low. If you're on cpanel, it's just a matter of, or Plesk, it's a matter of just changing the dropdown on that version, 5.6 to 5.3. So for most of us, it's very easy to do. Or just ask your hosting provider, just, hey, update me to 7.3, and they'll do it for you.
Awesome.
But yeah, update that. How about everyone else? We've got a 7.2, which is great. It's still, looking at that site health page, it's pissy, it's not happy. It wants 7.3, it's just not getting it. WHM. So WHM is part of Plesk from memory. The management console. Okay, Grace is 7.3. You passed the bar, well done. So the only takeaway that you get from tonight is that your PHP version is out of date or woefully out of date. Update it. It's not just a pretty number and you're making yourself feel good. You're getting security fixes. You're going to get a massive performance update, especially if you're going from 5.6 to something like 7.3. 7.4 has been released, but there are issues with it affecting a lot of people. So try 7.3 first and then shift. You can toggle to 7.4. And if you find that there's problems, drop back. So if that's the only thing that you do from this meetup over the next month, you'll see just a huge difference. That means more site visitors coming to your site. That means longer retention of site visitors coming to you. Like, these are big things for not much work, unless you're like me and you've built your own car, and it's a pain in the ass, which I'll show you pretty soon. What is PHP FPM? That is, can anyone jump in? CGI Process Manager. Is it part of NGIX?
FPM is just the way that the web server communicates with PHP. Pretty much everyone should be running FPM PHP these days, but it's also not something that you need to concern yourself with generally because the host takes care of it.
Cool. So would that be showing as the same as the PHP version, or would that have its own version number?
It should have its own version. It should be the same version.
Okay. Thanks, Noel. Cool. Thanks, Dion, too. But I have it on auto with SiteGround, so I cannot take the credit. So Jay gets updates for doing nothing. Lucky you. So if you're on SiteGround and you've got it set to automatic updates, then they shift the number for you and presumably check it for you, not just do it and forget. Cool. Okay, so what, we got 10 people from that. It seems like our average is about 7.2, so most of us are behind. A few of us are online, and nobody's on 7.4, so no one's on the bleeding edge. Cool. Neil tests plugins on 5.6 to make sure that they work on the current minimum PHP version. Cool. Great. If you're a plugin developer, great, do test for 5.6. Yeah, I think I've stopped. I think I stopped recently. I switched to local and set the minimum version to higher. So if you're on 5.6, sorry, my plugins aren't going to work for you. And the reason is the same as WordPress. Like, they need to encourage people to update, and that's what this site health widget is so cool about, because it's really encouraging, and I hope they push that further. Okay, I'm going to take back the screen again if I can figure out how. Cool. So critical issue, that's something I'm going to do over the next month, and the next time we catch up for a meetup, I'm going to show you that on 7.3. Yeah. All right, update frequency. So that's setting a task to make sure that your sites are up to date, or just spending a little bit of dedicated time understanding what you want to update or not update or delay for various reasons, but setting aside a bit of time to do it. You can do that daily, weekly, fortnightly, as instructed, as absolutely necessary, or as hell only when things break, or never. And for a lot of people in business, that's the option that works, which that sucks, but that's the reality. The priority is not on keeping things up to date, keeping everything up to date. So it's when things break, when things stop working, then it becomes a priority and it floats back up to the top of the stack. And I'd love to see more WordPress users shift to something even quarterly. If you've got your own site, it's not doing e-commerce, it's just a brochure site. Once a quarter, spend a couple of hours and just go, okay, I need to apply these plugin updates. I need to apply these theme updates. I'm going to log into cPanel or Plesk or jump into SiteGround or WP Engine or whatever hosting provider you've got, and reach out to the customer support if you're not familiar and go, guys, ladies, guys, how do I update? What do I need to do? Can you do it for me? Because they may even do it for you, which then you don't even have to learn how to do it. You can just sit back and let them do it for you. You may be paying for it without even knowing it. But that means you've got a faster site, you've got a safer site, you're covered, you're protected as much as possible through an update frequency schedule. We're pretty lucky with WordPress in that you can do a completely hands-off site maintenance. Today, you can do that. WordPress will do automatic updates for you, WordPress core, so that's cool, hands-off, done. If you connect WordPress to Jetpack, which people love and hate, but we're going to talk about it. If you connect your WordPress site to Jetpack, which is the WordPress.com service, you can manage your automatic plugin and theme updates from WordPress.org. So again, you can toggle those updates, and I'll show you how. You can set that up so it's hands-off again. Like if it's a low-risk site, you're using themes and plugins from trusted sources, and it's non-mission critical. You're not too fussed if it goes down for half an hour. Look at that option. It's amazing for sites that you really can just let go and check once a quarter and go, hey, sweet, automatic updates is still working. It's been doing that for 3 years. How cool is that? Rather than checking every 3 years and going, it's been a while, shit's falling off. I need to deal with this now. I don't want to deal with it, but it's a problem. I've got to set time aside. It's a great service. So I'm just going to quickly open up a site that's connected to Jetpack. I personally have had some niggles with Jetpack on high traffic sites, so I've had to turn it off for those. But for non-high traffic sites, it's a dream. And I think most of that problem probably comes back to PHP being woefully out of date. Yeah. So let's open up Jetpack and see if I can bring up the WordPress.com screen. Ta-da. We got plans, sites. Anyone an expert on Jetpack and knows where I can see automatic plugin updates? Ah, there it is. Manage your plugins. Did you see that? So that was Jetpack, dashboard, and then on the right, plugin updates. So manage your plugins. I believe this is available to all Jetpack users. You don't have to pay for this functionality. Again, if you know better, please tell me. There it is, automatic updates. This is .io. It's not an e-commerce site. It's not mission critical. This is actually pretty cool. So you can start turning on automatic updates, and it will push those updates to you. There will be plugins that can't do automatic updates, and those are custom plugins or plugins outside of the WordPress.org ecosystem. So this one, this connector, this custom plugin I probably built, doesn't get automatic updates because, hey, it's not in the WordPress plugin repository. But for everything else, they're all available. So WordPress.com will push these updates to you when they become available, which is a great service. Very cool. So yeah, that's a way that you can get updates without lifting a finger. And these all come from very trusted sources. Back to the front, where are we at? Okay, so do you allow WordPress to core updates? Absolutely, yes. Some users now, probably even some of you guys right now who are on this Zoom, you may have purchased a site from another person and they've handed it to you. And there may be a chance that they've disabled core updates or they've disabled automatic plugin updates altogether. And that's a change to the WP config file or through a plugin that disables automatic updates. And that is a constant, this is PHP terms, PHP constant. Dion, do you know it if you've got mic on? Disable WordPress core updates. WP underscore auto underscore update core. And if that's set to true within your WP config file, then you're not going to get automatic updates. And that's done by some agencies who want to control the update schedule for you. But if they've handed that over to you, then you are now in control and you're responsible. And I hope you're aware that's now your problem. You now need to do updates yourself. That won't be automatic. Just to give you an idea, and I'm looking at a very old site, probably not one with known logins. Better be smart. Here we go, local. Don't get excited, guys. There we go. Root, terrible. So that will look like a new line. Automatic WordPress. Updates are disabled, and that will be set to true. So that's something that you can check when you're ready, just to make sure that automatic updates are coming through. And again, it's either going to be a line like that within your WP config file, so you can access this through the file manager in Plesk or cPanel or via FTP, SFTP. You can also access it within WordPress itself, maybe through the file editor. Can you? You can do some pretty cool stuff with the file editor, but maybe not core, not wp-config.php. Have a cheeky look. File editor is awesome, but it can break. It's done really well not to break, but it's still, I wouldn't trust it completely. No, don't worry about it. You can't edit it there. So you've got to use a file manager, or you've got to go through FTP, SFTP to be able to check that change. But if you're getting updates, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Where is our presentation? It's in a different window. There it is. Okay, so you can allow automatic updates for WordPress.org themes and plugins. You can also allow automatic updates for a lot of commercial themes, so themes that are outside of the WordPress.org ecosystem, themes and plugins. Some of them support doing automatic updates for you if you include the license key. I'd be keen to understand through chat how many of you guys have got that set to automatic, or whether you do it manually, or if you've got the notification there, but you do the manual update yourself. I personally use commercial plugins for bigger sites, and I don't use automatic updates. I get the notification and I push it through when I need to. But keen to understand how you guys use it for things like Gravity Forms, Ultimate Member, stuff like that. Those are big plugins, how you use them. Cool, update frequencies covered. Update environments. I'll go back to presentation mode so you can see everything. So update environments is if you've got your site, your WordPress site, do you update everything there and that's your source of truth? That's where everything happens? Or do you have a staging site, a separate site that you make earlier updates to and check that things work. And then if they're good, then you do it again on your live site, your production site. Or do you have the whole setup? And that is the 3 steps. That's the live site, the production site that people from around the world access. And then you've got your staging site, the one that you push your updates to and make sure that it works before you push it to production. And then finally your development site, which is the one where you do all your nitty gritty work first. So you might be changing themes and customizing themes. And when you're happy with it and it's been approved by your boss, or if you're the owner, you're happy with it, you push that into staging. Make those changes again on staging, or use a plugin or tool, code tool to push that to staging, where again, you check that things work. And then finally, you take that to your live site to production. I personally have a mix. So Visser.io is live. It's anything I do there, if I make a change and it breaks for everyone. I'm okay with that. I don't care if it's down for 30 minutes or a day. Whereas if it's a business site, then there's definitely a staging site, at least a staging site where you can push those changes between. And then for much bigger projects, then you've got development sites where you use local development, things like local for WordPress, which is an app that you can install on WordPress, Mac, Linux, it's all there. And it lets you run WordPress on your computer, not on the internet. So it's just on your computer, and you can build to your heart's content and break it and mess with it and write whatever you want, and it's stuck on your computer. It's not out in the big world, unless you link it up to some service. There are hosting providers out there, WP Engine, probably SiteGround 2, to name 2 off the top of my head, that will do that staging support for you. So you don't need to copy changes and test them and make sure that they work manually. There's a button you can push within WordPress or within the hosting panel that will copy the site elsewhere for you to a subdomain or to its own unique domain, where you can test it and make sure that those changes work. And then when you're happy, push the changes back to production. Again, a one push button rather than a manual process, or having to back up your site and restore it somewhere else, which is how you do these, make sure that what you've done on staging works well on production. So you can do that by duplicating to a subdomain. So domain.com, staging.domain.com, or to a temporary domain, it doesn't matter. Everyone's got their own way to do it. And then you've got things like continual backups. That's WordPress comes to mind, which is an update plugin from WordPress, which whenever you make any change, so a new comment comes in and you create a new post, you change the theme, you install a plugin, you update a plugin, every one of those actions is synced off-site, off to the WordPress storage database somewhere in magical land. And if you need, you can pull it back down. So if you do an update and it breaks, then you can restore it, knowing that all that changes have been synced and you're just restoring what you need to bring back. And that, as part of your update environment tools, is incredible. I've dug myself out of so many holes just by using things like WordPress. Another one is Stream, which monitors actions and intents within WordPress. So when you change roles and capabilities, or you change the ownership of a post or a page, all of that, or new registrations, they're all monitored within that Stream plugin. So you've got those tools available to you. If you're using Plesk or cPanel, you can always do a snapshot. So you go into your site, you can do it on WP Engine, SiteGround, it doesn't matter, they're all there. It's backup wizard, backup snapshot, hit it, it takes a picture of your website right as it is, and then you can go into your site and do the updates. If they're big updates and you want to be sure that you're doing the update and it works, you've got the backup to pull back on. A good hosting provider will have nightly backups or weekly backups. It's something that you can fall back onto. So do reach out to your hosting provider and ask them. Yeah. Whew. Cool. How are you guys doing? I drop the screen again. Just going to go through comments. There's a chat window. It's on the bottom. Yeah, if if you hover down the bottom of the screen under chat. Cool. 7.4, go Slava. Nice work. Thoroughly reliable WordPress updates. Yes, minor updates are great. I haven't had any problems. Only had problems with plugin updates. But yeah, WordPress core, golden. Main WP, so that sounds like a managed provider. Correct me if I'm wrong. Managed WP, a little bit of advertising. Let's have a look. Okay, WordPress Manager, manage multiple WordPress sites. So that looks like Jetpack, which we had a look at. Manual with notifications, good. Update all themes first on development site, good work. Cool. And yeah, if you've got a common set of tools, then you can do the update once and be pretty confident that when you do it 5 or 10 times, it's going to work well too there, which is great. I have the exact same. I've got a set of plugins I'll use religiously, and if there's a problem with one, then I'll delay that update or revert that update on the other sites to be sure. Cool. Okay. So this is the case study, and this is a worst case study because this is that deep end. So I built a Google Compute Engine instance, so it's using the Google Cloud to host. But the catch is it doesn't have cPanel, it doesn't have Plesk, it doesn't have any managed hosting. I've got to update it myself, and if I wasn't a programmer, it would typically cost a lot to do. And I'm not going to be able to do it tonight because it's such a hard job. But I can show you some of the issues that can come into play with when you roll your own site. So let's have a look. .io, and I'm going to have to share the screen again. Updated to 5.4 during the meeting. It even shows WordPress Brisbane meetup info in the dashboard. Nice. Okay, sharing the screen. Screen. If you've got a moment, drop in the chat, whether you're using Google Compute Cloud or Amazon AWS EC2 instances, because I'd love to find some resources to help us for doing these updates, because doing an update in this environment is very difficult because it's roll your own. To stress how hard it's going to be, I'm going to have to copy a site. So this is my site, fuelprice.io, that's chugging away. I'm going to have to clone the disk. I'm going to have to do a whole lot of work. I'm probably going to have to back up the entire site into a giant zip file, which is a tarball in Linux land. I'm going to have to restore it into a new instance, which is running 7.3. I'm going to have to apply all the changes that I've made to that old instance to the new instance. And it's probably going to take a good month just to get that update done and make sure that the site is performing as well as it was a month ago. If I wasn't using Compute Engine, if I was on a hosted managed host, I wouldn't have to do any of that. It's done for me. And that's the stress and it just drives you crazy sometimes when you have the ability to do things yourself versus using a successful, trusted hosting company, and they've got the tools and the experience, and they do this every day for you. You don't have to learn it yourself, and I'm guarantee I'm going to screw it up, and it'll be days where the site won't be available, but it will be running 7.3, and I will not get a prompt in the site health toolkit saying that I'm out of date, but the site will probably be slow as a dog and need a lot of customization and optimization to get it back up to where it was before because of the way that I've done this. So I have shot myself in the foot, and I'm not an expert enough to know what I did, and I'm going to have to one by one reproduce it. So it sucks to be me. But let's bring up the site anyway and see what version of PHP it has. I bet it's 7.0 because unlike you guys, I have a set template, a recipe, and I copy it. And there it is. So I'm running WordPress 5.4. You can see that in the bottom corner. should be improved. Your site has critical issues that should be addressed as soon as possible. All right, that looks familiar. And there's 10 items. There it is. My site's using PHP 7.0, which requires an update. So it's out of date. And whatever change I'm going to have to do to Visser.io, because it's also hosted in La La Land, I'm going to have to do here. So I've got 2 sites that I've now got to schedule updates and apply them and get them all up to speed again. So Visser.io will take a lot less time because there's less tuning to make it fast and make it responsive for everyone. But this site gets slammed. So I'm going to have to do a lot of work to make sure that it works as well as it does right now. So yeah, if I had my way, I wouldn't update. I'd hold out until it gets to that final, is it a broken bit? Only when things break. Like that's kind of how I feel about fuelprice.io on the PHP version that it's on right now. But by spinning up a new instance and using a new recipe with new versions of the database is going to be quicker. The PHP version is going to be quicker. The OP code, the OP cache is probably going to be a lot more optimized. So everything's going to be quicker once I do the work. But I've got to make that task happen. And it's probably going to cost a bit of money. So I'm reluctant to do it. But that's something that I'm going to do over the next month because I want those speed benefits. I want the site to be faster for site visitors. I don't want them hanging on white screens. If they're on mobile, I don't want them to wait that extra 0.3 of a second because they've already buggered off. They've gone to the competitor. So these are really important things if you're dealing with a high traffic site. So yeah, there it is. I'm not going to do the update. That's the case study. I'm gonna plan it. I'm gonna look at it, and I'm gonna do it within the next month. Otherwise, you guys can shame me. But yeah, I'm not going to do it now because I'm scared shitless. I'm gonna have to understand what changes I made and reapply them. Don't know. Not happening. Close it. Not happening. Cool. So yeah, throwing it back to you guys. What update strategy works for you? And some of you have dropped comments in the chat. Let us know. How do you do the updates? Do you do them as they come out? Do you queue them up? If you're on a retainer, do you wait? Do them once a month? If it's just a blog and you're just happy with WordPress, do you set time aside for it? I'd be really keen to understand. Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes. It's almost pizza time. Ricky, are you able to unmute everyone? Oh, I can do it too.
Hello.
I'm going to unmute everyone for a minute so it's not deathly quiet. So I can hear myself breathing.
Yeah.
How you guys all doing?
Good.
Do you have any questions? Feel free to remute yourself if you like.
I'll wait for WordFence to tell me I've got an update needed. So.
Okay, WordFence does tell you. It's irritating how it does.
My experience is that, you know, I have a fairly big range of sites and I update them, and within a day, I've got sites that are out of date. So it's a bit like, you know, tuning a guitar. You know, you tune it, but then you spend the rest of the time playing out of tune. And I've just got used to that fact that I'm always going to be out of date. So I basically use Infinite WP to monitor each site, and I'll go in there and have a look. And you know, when I got 2 that need updating, I won't do anything. When I got 8, I'm definitely going to do something. And I also monitor what's within the list. You know, plugins that I know are reliable, I go with it. Others, I might check it more carefully.
What's the line for you for when you say, oh, I'm going to delay it? Is it because it's a big complex plugin, or just you don't trust the developer?
I would say it's more the number of plugins that are out of date. You know, so I've got a site and it's got you know, a theme that I know and trust, and it updates. Well, you know, as soon as I can get around to it, I'll update it. With plugins, because they're constantly out of date, I sort of do them in batches, you know, like if there's 5 or 6 or 10 on the site, well, hey, Neil, it's time to update. But if it's only 2 and it's the same 2 on, of course, 20 sites, I'll probably let them sit there for a while. Because otherwise I'd be in there every day. I would be in there every day.
Well, there's always code changes. There's a benefit to doing regular updates on WordPress.org. So plugin developers tend to push updates quite regularly as well.
I do have another issue that I do back up before every change as well. Like I'm running regular updates, but I also do, before any update, I'm going to back up. And that's relatively easy with Infinite WP.
Okay. And how do you guys deal with plugins that don't get updates or themes that don't get updates? How long do you hold on to it? Because you've all got them. Like no one's immune. There's a plugin you love that you enjoy or a theme that you've got and it's great. You don't want to change it, but the plugin developer or theme developers just walked away. What do? Do you just keep it till it breaks? Keep it until someone reports a security fix, a security vulnerability for it, and then you finally pull it? Or do you wait for WordPress to pull it for you?
On that note, how many people actually know if their plugins and themes they're running are still updated? If the author is still updating them?
No.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because
I
generally,
just trust that they're there.
Yeah.
They're eternal.
I usually find that unless you get an update notification, you don't even think about it. You just assume that they're okay. But it is a case I've seen from, when I've been troubleshooting sites for people where if you search back through, you might find a plugin or a theme has been causing problems, and you search back through and you find it hasn't been updated for like 2 or 3 years and there's been no recent support. So it's usually when things go wrong, that's when you find the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, you go looking for a plugin update that won't exist.
Yeah.
It's a good question, Dion, because, there was just a recent one where, WordFence reported it, and it's a pretty well-known and well-used plugin. And I saw it on the WordFence blog, or I think I saw it on the Slack channel, and then I went in and removed it on 20 sites. But you're right, I wouldn't have known otherwise. Good question.
It'd be handy to have something that would alert you when your plugin was no longer being updated or being managed, but that'd be a hard thing to set up.
It's noted if you can see it in the directory, right? So the directory's doing those things. So there'd just be a case of adding that in the admin. I think there is some notices in the admin about plugins that are not being updated, but I could be wrong. Certainly in the directory, there's notices of that. If you search for a plugin that's not being updated by a certain time, I think you have to specifically search for its URL or pretty close to it to get to it, something like that.
I guess just because it hasn't been updated doesn't mean it isn't being updated. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, just because it hasn't been updated doesn't mean it's no longer being supported. That's the challenge.
Exactly.
Yeah, if it's simple code, it probably doesn't need, like a lot of times the code's being updated to keep in line with the updates of WordPress core. But if the code itself is not needed, if it's a very simple plugin, then it can be kind of misrepresented that it's not being supported when it is, but it's just not in need of an update.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there's plugins that I use that don't need updates. Sorry.
I'll drop it in. It's got absolutely very few users, but there are plugins out there if you want to be notified of when the last plugin update was released. But yeah, otherwise you have to go to the website. It shows you, for instance, WP e-commerce, which was an old e-commerce platform that was quite popular years ago. It shows a notice saying this plugin's out of date. Yeah. Well, we got to 7:30. Yeah.
Okay, well.
That was a pretty awesome effort. Thanks, mate.
No worries. I'll just show the last.
Thank you.
Did we record this by any chance?
Yep.
I don't know. Did we?
Recording button,
I believe
top
it.
left.
It's recording, yeah.
Nice. Oh, well, then I can show the last slide.
I have no idea how.
And pizza time.
Yeah.
Mind you, I don't know how to use the recordings. How do you get them?
The administrator has access to them. So once it finishes, they save and he gets a copy and he can distribute.
Okay. Thanks, whoever it is. Ricky, I think.
It was me. So I've hit the save Zoom recording to computer. I don't actually know what that means it does.
Yeah.
I've never used it. So
Doing WordPress.
want a file of some form.
Yeah, once the session closes, it'll churn away and process that and we'll create a file of the recording for you. I don't know what format it's in, but it'll chug away and create it.
It'll probably get thrown up onto the WordPress Brisbane YouTube channel.
Ooh.
And we'll post it onto the meetup page or something like that.
Thanks, Dan.
I'll drop the slides up later tonight or tomorrow, depending on how we go tonight.
Awesome.
Everybody stay safe.
Yeah. Can everybody just big round of applause virtually or whatever for Michael for his presentation?
Thank you.
And for his amazing, what's it called? Cam chat or?
Snap camera.
Yeah, crash the
Love it.
machine. I'll try it tomorrow.
I've definitely got to test that out.
Any questions, feel free to flick them through. I'll be on chat for a little bit longer, munching down for lunch, to dinner. Yeah. Otherwise, have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Feel free to hang
Right
around
on.
if you want.
6 feet apart.
Bye.
Bye.